All right, guys, welcome back to another tutorial. Today we got my boy. Obviously, for this new catalog that we're starting, I feel like this is the first video that we're making with color in it, and I feel like this is going to be a sick one. Number one, because Nate's going to be getting a huge transformation. You've never gotten your hair colored before, or you said you have, but not this short with this length, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So overall, this is about to be a huge transformation on Nate. I'm going to be doing a crop. Okay, I'm gonna be doing a crop, but I'm gonna have the fringe sitting a little bit more wispy, and he's gonna just go much shorter all around in length. I'm gonna have Nate show you guys the photo right here. So we'll drop the photo right here. Yeah, overall, just talk to me on, I kind of know already what you're getting, but what are you looking to achieve with this new look?
Really just big change, and then honestly just a short look. I wanted like a summer vibe.
Yeah.
You know, shortcut,
Yeah.
low fade, and then color change. So
What got you inspired to like just being like, hey, I'm gonna go super short, color my hair this summer? Like, what got you inspired to do that?
really just to be different. I just want to do something off the wall, to be honest.
And you play basketball too, so I'm sure like shorter hair obviously helps out with like all that, right?
Yeah, I won't have the bangs in my face anymore.
Is that how you play? Like you just play with your hair in your face?
Yeah.
It's definitely gonna be a much easier process when you're hooping. I'm excited to get into this tutorial. I'm gonna try to go not too platinum because I still want it to match his skin color. Because he's pretty pale, by going way too pale with the color like icy gray, white, it's just gonna drown his face color out. So we're gonna go platinum blonde. Okay, that's gonna be the most ideal color for Nate today. The goal is to try to get Nate to platinum blonde in one round. One round of bleach, and then we're gonna go ahead and tone it after two. One round of bleach, get into platinum blonde, give him the transformation that he needs. Before I jump into his haircut, let's just talk about the shape that I'm about to give him. Obviously, this is the same thing as any other haircut. Just because we're coloring it doesn't mean that we change the process up. I'm gonna be going ahead and analyzing the head shape of Nate's head so that we can give him the best haircut possible. And then after that, analyze his hair texture, analyze his face shape, you know, just try to maximize the look that we have now because he has so much hair to work with. So first thing is feel the parietal ridge. Very flat in the parietal ridge, meaning that we have to build a little bit of weight through these corners. Second thing I noticed when I felt his head, he has a pretty round crown. Towards this pivotal point from the apex to the crown, this area is a little bit flat. So I do want to build up a little bit of weight, but not too much. With that shape, I'll kind of see, depending on the technique that I choose, whether it's layering or graduation, I do know that I need to build up a little bit of weight through the crown. With the texture of Nate's hair, I noticed that it's quite dry right now. And because we're gonna color it, it's gonna become even more dry. With color, your hair tends to dry up a little bit. The choice of length that I wanna go with is shorter than usual. I had a previous consultation, he doesn't wanna go too short, but I am gonna take the length quite short because that's gonna help with the frizz and almost make his hair feel healthier. So because this is gonna be a pretty big chop, what I know is I'm gonna go shorter in length, especially in the fringe. Parietal ridge, a little bit of weight built through. Same thing in the back. He wants a burst fade. So we're gonna build the weight line through the parietal ridge into the crown, and we're gonna end it right where, you know, the nape and the occipital bone is. But yeah, with that being said, let's get right into the haircut, guys. First section is gonna go from this cowlick right here, okay? So this cowlick that he naturally has in the back is gonna determine all the sections. So it starts on his right side. So rather than going this way, this is gonna be a shorter finish line. So let's start on the right side. From that cowlick, I'm gonna bring it all the way down behind the ear, and we're gonna separate that out of the way. Now the next thing I'm gonna do is from that point in the back, I'm gonna drag that all the way through to the other side. So go here, from there, just go straight down. We call this our radial section. Okay, and this is just gonna separate the back from the front. Next guide through, find the roundness in the parietal ridge. And the second thing you wanna identify is the corner of that hairline. Where does that corner begin? So we identify the corner and we identify the roundness. And from the beginning of that round, we're gonna drop in, okay, we're gonna drop in all the way to our corner. Read the roundness into that corner. Really simple. I'm gonna get into my process here, and you might be wondering, he's moving quite fast. The reason of that is going to be because whenever I'm doing color, guys, I always think of it as a rough draft. This cutting process is only my rough draft, and I'm going to finalize it at the end. The shapes that you need to create and the layers that you need to make are only going to be a rough draft of what you're going to refine afterwards. Because once the hair gets bleached, density changes, direction may change, everything might change because we're chemically processing the hair. So this is going to be the rough draft. And what I'm going to start with is the back. We're going to take a nice vertical layer straight through. Boom. Another one, boom. And here what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab that layer and I'm going to see where the shortest point is. Okay, so it's down here. Okay, and there's a massive disconnection right here from this length to this length. So I'm going to go ahead and start my layer at the very bottom of this length. And we're going to go quite short in the back. So we're going to go boom. And we're going to build into the layers up top. And I'm not going to go with a completely round shape, but we're going to build in a slightly more of a round line as we travel up. Second guide, straight through. Boom. Separate this out of the way. Now I want to move horizontally around as well because for this haircut, I want a lot of movement and I want a lot of texture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay exactly where the section is and I'm going to cut on base. You guys see that? The over direction stays directly on the side of the section, or the over direction stays directly where the section begins. Okay, so same thing here. Pull. Check my guide. Boom. Check my guide. One more section straight down. We're working 2 sections at a time. This other section can stay back. Same thing, on base, staying nice and horizontal with the shape. Nicely round, boom, pure tension. Look for my guide, there it is. That's all I'm looking for, guys. Really easy. Now here's what I do as I travel to the side. Because I know a lot of this is gonna be a burst fade, right? There's no point of layering this side. I'm just wasting time at that point. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and split this in half. So watch carefully, guys. Section it down in the middle. Bring everything here forward. So now we have panel A, panel B. That's what we'll call it. Panel A, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna imagine where that burst fade is gonna sit, and I'm gonna grab my first guide using forward graduation. So from here, all I'm doing is going and grabbing a guide going forward. I'm gonna bring that down. Boom. Knuckles are gonna be very tight to the head. Right there. My first incision is gonna be placed. The rest of this goes right on top, over directing just back to previous. Pure tension, check your guide. And that weight line is beautifully set. Same thing here, we're gonna go ahead and grab that same guide straight through and we're gonna peel everything down. And from that disconnection, we're gonna grab the same guide here and we're gonna follow that through and imagine where the burst fade is gonna sit in the back now. Okay, drop it down. We're imagining where the burst fade is gonna sit. I'm just bringing everything down with me as I transition into these new lengths. There's our guide created. Now we bring everything on here, over down, over direct everything back to previous, and we cut. There's nothing left to cut because all of this was layered. Other side. Same thing here. We're gonna go ahead, grab our guide straight through. Moving 2 sections at a time. Pick this layer out, pull, check your guide. Nice and easy, guys. Very simple process here. If this area is kind of hard to maneuver around, just change your body positioning. Second guide. And the same thing here. Pick this up. Same thing, split this in half. Once I reach this area, split it in half. Push everything here forward, push everything here backwards. Everything here stays forward. We grab our first guide going forward, slight diagonal, but it stays almost at a horizontal. And from here, we're gonna go knuckles tight to the head because this is gonna be our guide. for our burst wave. Okay, and the reason why I'm taking it tight is gonna be because this is all gonna be clipper work sitting right on top of this. So there's no point of leaving so much length. And the last haircut that he got quite big of a disconnection. So all of this is just getting now blended in. Same thing here, follow that guide. Now just peel this back. This length gets traveled into the same length that was cut on the right side, and we just connect. Okay, and then we just over direct everything back, whatever hasn't been cut. There's not gonna be a lot though, because all of this was previously layered. And yeah, boom, we have the back sides all finished up, and we can just worry about the top now. Now, the first thing that I need to read when cutting the fringe is to see how jumpy it actually is. Because if it's too jumpy, I definitely don't wanna take it too short, or I wanna take it really short, right? So that's the decision that I need to make. When I see his natural hairline, put it down the middle. And what I'm doing here is reading his natural hairline, and I'm gonna take it an inch up. Okay, for the correct amount of density for the fringe. Take it an inch higher, just drop it down, and clip everything else up. Take it an inch. And why do I wanna go with the natural hairline? Is because I want it to be even in density when I set in my choice of length. So I notice his cowlick here is quite jumpy, and we're not choosing to go too short today. So I'm gonna leave the long length slightly longer than where his natural hairline sits. So since it's here, I'm probably gonna drop it down just about an inch. What we're gonna do is, using no elevation, I want all the way to sit in the fringe. We're gonna go ahead and set in our choice of length right in the middle. And then we're gonna move to the left. And we're gonna move a little bit more. Notice how from where I'm taking it, it already springs up slightly. That's why you wanna take it a little bit longer. Here I'm gonna use a little bit of elevation so I can blend it in with the sides. So the sides here, you're gonna pick that up. Okay, and then from that disconnection, we're gonna go short. So from here, we're gonna go from short and then get gradually longer. Okay, one more time here, peel it down. Set in that choice of length. And once I set in my choice of length with that one length, I can now pull some of these lengths, elevate slightly, but stay closer to that line. Using my feather razor with no blade. I feel like no blade helps me stay more in control as well. And then from here, this connection goes short and then gradually get long as I reach the fringe. Once the hairline is set in, we're gonna move on to the layers up top. And it's a little jumpy now, but with the color, it's gonna lay just perfectly. Kind of the length I'm looking for right there. We're gonna move on to the layers up top. First section down, straight through the middle. Boom. Second section down, straight through the middle. Clip this up. Don't want to keep too much weight up top, so I'm going to pull this up. And starting from that disconnection, I'm going to move into a square line. Starting from that disconnection, we're going to move into a square line. It actually matches in perfectly with the length in the back as well. You guys see that? So in this case, we just blend everything in because the length matches perfectly. Second section through. Now, this is an area that I need to stay mindful in now. Because I want to build some weight in the corners, I want a square line from the front. Now, how am I going to do that? I'm going to choose to use over directions. The section here is going to get over directed back to previous. So each section starting now is going to get over directed back to previous. So back to previous. What does that look like? This section is going to get over directed this side, this way. We're pushing. Pick it up, grab that section. Okay, grab that section. Last section here, push everything over and go ahead and finish this right side up. Moving on to our left side here. Okay, bring this section down. Okay, moving 2 sections at a time. And now we're gonna pull because we wanna over direct every single section back to previous. Boom, boom, pull back to previous, pull back to previous. And everything on this side now comes this back to previous. Okay, so we pull everything up, whatever hasn't been cut. You guys see this slight disconnection right here with the layers up top falling into the sides. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna push everything down naturally, not too much tension. We're gonna slide our comb right underneath that, push it up, look for a disconnection. I'm just gonna point cut into it. Okay, using zero tension. That's just gonna blend it in naturally and not sacrifice any of that weight that we've created in our corners. Same thing with the other side. Push our comb in, boom, drop it down. Look for that disconnection. We're just gonna point cut that disconnection away. We're gonna give it a rough blow dry, give it some shape with clippers, and then we're gonna go ahead and drop into our bleach session. Heat's gonna be on low, power's gonna be on high. We don't wanna irritate the scalp before bleaching. Into our weight line that we set on the sides. 3 guard comes in, we're gonna close it up, and 3 guard is gonna go right into that weight line. Okay, for the back here, because the guideline is getting longer and longer, we're gonna open it up, fade into that shape. Okay, same thing on this side. Weight line sits right here, 3 guard closed, straight in. Open it up, fade into that shape. And I'm kind of allowing room to stay on this side because you don't want to remove too much bulk for the burst fade here. And we're gonna touch up everything else when it's dry. Rough draft of the haircut is finished. Obviously, this is not a done haircut yet, but I threw in my very, very rough draft for the cut. And now we're gonna go straight into the color so that I could see what this haircut looks like when it's bleached. And then I have that opportunity to really finish it up and polish it up. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into our bleach process. All right, I'll show you guys what products I use afterwards, but before getting into that, I'm gonna show you guys the exact ratio that's gonna be money every single time. Okay, so you wanna start at 0, obviously. Now, the money ratio is usually having a little bit more bleach. It's gonna be a 1-to-2 ratio, right? It's gonna be a 1-to-2 ratio, but I always throw in a little bit more bleach to thicken the powder up. All right, so we're gonna work with a 1-to-2 ratio here, but we're gonna start with 70 grams of bleach, and we're gonna end it off with 140 grams of developer, right? 72, that's fine. And then we're gonna add the developer until this number right here hits 210. So it's a 1-to-2 ratio. So we wanna add double of the developer. And I wanna go with the half and half formula because I want this process to come out quite quick. And because we're trying to finish this in 1 round, I wanted to develop faster than the normal rate. Here's the thing I need to be mindful of. If I use too much 30 vol, it's gonna end up frying his and damaging his hair more than it would with just 20 vol. So I'm gonna do like a 60 to 40, kind of eyeballing it, but adding more 20 vol than 30 vol. So let's get this to 140 first. So 140, and then we're gonna add in maybe 30 more grams of 20 vol. So up to 170. So once we hit 170, we're gonna finish that up with 30 vol to 210. 210, perfect, right? So that's the perfect amount we need. But because I told you guys that I wanna add in a little bit more bleach than the 1-to-2 ratio, I'm gonna throw in just 20 more grams of just bleach. Okay, so we're gonna match that now up to 230. Here's the rule, guys. After the 1-to-2 ratio, I'm eyeballing for consistency. Now we're gonna finish with our Olaplex oil. Okay, we're gonna finish with our Olaplex oil, and then we're gonna get the tube to 3.75. When that number hits 3.75 with the big jug, if you have the smaller ones, you can just use 1 tablespoon. Add that into the formula, okay? So you guys might have been wondering, why did I use a little bit more bleach at the end, right? Because I want this consistency to come out very smooth, but I want it to be a little bit thicker than smooth. So I don't want this consistency to be too watery, because what tends to happen is I notice that when it's too watery, the bleach tends to kind of run down the face while it stays hot. I'm not able to really keep the bleach on for longer than it should stay. So like I want to keep this on for a good hour, but when the formula is too watery, what tends to happen is the bleach will end up dripping down. The hairs at the bottom towards the nape and the sideburns tend to get more lighter than the top. So I want this bleach to really stick on the hair. So that's the type of consistency that I'm looking for. When you guys, after you guys finish the 1:2 ratio, if it doesn't really like stay almost like foam, like to me, this is like whipping cream, right? This is perfect type of consistency. If it doesn't do that, then add a little bit more bleach, okay? And just play it by ear. The rule is you wanna be able to pick it up and almost have the bleach just stay. And while I mix this up, I'm gonna have all the products laid out so you guys can see exactly what I used today. Okay, the bleach and the developer is gonna be by Blonde Me, and the oil that I use is gonna be by Olaplex. Okay, so Olaplex is the oil, and then Blonde Me is the premium developer, and it's gonna be the 20 vol, 6%, and the 9% 30 vol. Okay, when mixing this, you want it to be quite thorough, and you wanna be able to mix this in until you kind of see this turn into a very, very foamy type consistency. You don't wanna see any clumps of bleach. That's what's gonna turn this color very uneven. This is gonna be the product that's gonna save your client's skin from irritating. So before putting the bleach on, 5 minutes beforehand, we're gonna come over here. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and just apply this generously to this skin where it might potentially touch the bleach. Okay, and you wanna add a generous amount of this because when the skin touches the bleach, it tends to get a little bit red or irritated. And this is just gonna save it from getting too red, okay? And it's just gonna add a layer of protecting cream to the skin. So a lot of people always ask me, you know, how do you protect your client's skin when doing bleaches? My client's skin always comes or ends up becoming very, very irritated. This is the cream right here that's going to save that. This is the product that your client is gonna be really thankful for after the bleach, right? And after applying, you wanna grab your Dyson and you wanna put the settings on cool, okay? So no heat at all. And we're just gonna cool the cream down so it really sticks on the skin. Once that's done, let's go ahead and move in to our application process for the bleach. So we're gonna grab a good layer of bleach here and we're gonna apply it directly onto this cowlick area. And where the cowlick wants to come down, we're gonna go ahead and let it come down. And there's gonna be an opposite side where the hairs want to travel up. Okay, in that area, we're just gonna push everything going up. Because we're starting at the crown, we're gonna peel all of this to the other side. So we're working in small layers. Okay, so we're gonna cover the top side first. And after the top side is covered, we're gonna cover the bottom side. Okay, and you wanna move quite quick because this bleach tends to process quite rapidly. So we're moving in small layers and we're creating these sections with my brush so that each area can just get coated real evenly. Dabbling in everything and moving in bigger sections is what's gonna get that bleach looking real uneven at the end. And you're gonna be wondering why you're left with a product that's so uneven everywhere. Once I get to this zone right here, where it starts to fall into the nape, that's where I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna move on to the top. So bring all this down now and look for that point where I started my sectioning for the crown. I'm starting to find it. Okay, so we go back to section number 1 where we started the crown. And what we do now, we have the top side and the bottom side once again. You want to be generous with it, but you don't want to be too generous with it to the point where it's just too much bleach, right? Okay, now the top side, bottom side changes, but we're always going to have a top side and we're always going to have a bottom side. So just remember that. And what I'm doing now, after the whole head is covered, and the reason for these air pockets is so that as the bleach develops, the hair is still able to breathe. Bleach is able to kind of process evenly. So in the longer areas with a lot of hair, the smaller air pockets like this is gonna create a huge difference. First area for the foil here is gonna be the back. Next area is gonna be the apex. Next area is gonna be the sides. Okay, and last area is gonna be the bottom here. You wanna add some pressure to these foils to make sure that it's sticking right on head. And the foil is gonna really just contract the heat and let this bleach really evenly. Last step, we're gonna throw on our cap. So once the cap is on, I'm gonna throw my diffuser onto my Dyson and everything's gonna be on high. And I'm just gonna go ahead and diffuse this at a distance for about 2 minutes. All right, guys, so I'm gonna show you guys the process of me making my toner, and this is another important process because you want to know like what color it is that you're creating, right? So I have two different colors here. It's two Blonde Me toners, right? One of them is called Tea Clear. One of them is called Tea Ice. This Tea Ice is gonna give you more like that icy gray, almost like that, you know, that full platinum look. Clear is gonna give you something that's a little bit more on the white end, and it's almost gonna drown out that gray. Because I kind of want to stay in between, I don't want to go too gray, too silver, and I don't want to keep it too white. I kind of want to keep it nice and icy. I'm gonna use about probably a little bit more of ice, but I'm probably gonna use like a 4 to 6 type of ratio when creating this. I might even go 3 to 7, but it's a 1-to-1 ratio with the activator gel. I have some 6% activator gel, 1.9%, 6 fall. Okay, 6 fall is gonna keep it very neutral, nothing too crazy hard on the hair color. Basically, it's gonna be a 1-to-1 ratio. So it's gonna be 1 of the toner and then 1 of the activator gel. For this one, let's go ahead and start applying. Okay, and I'm gonna just throw in whatever is left of this clear, everything that's in here, and we're gonna see how much it comes out to. So 23 grams, I wanna add in, I'll probably go up to 60 grams with the ice. Now with that, we're just gonna match that with the activator gel to 120, right? Because it's 1-to-1 ratio. So you wanna add in the same amount as 60. We're gonna go ahead and mix this up nice and evenly. Okay, and we're gonna apply this directly at the shampoo bowl. 45 minutes is up. Let's go ahead and see how this bleach is looking. So we're gonna remove the cap, remove all the foils. And I'm gonna grab a comb and a bowl to collect all this hair. So you wanna start by just removing all that processed bleach so that the shampoo bowl doesn't have to eat up too much of that. And also, this is kind of like the time where you get to slightly check what color you've created. And after that 45 minutes, you don't want to process it more than that because it's just going to end up damaging the hair and frying the hair. It's not really, it may get it a little bit lighter, but you know, you always want to think about the quality of the hair and the health of the hair before anything, right? Now, while the hair is still wet, I'm gonna go ahead and apply my toner. Okay, we're just gonna get rid of some of this excess water. And I'm gonna go in and spread this toner out quite evenly. Okay, the goal is to get this to a platinum blonde. Okay, so I don't want to get this icy white or icy silver. Okay, I still want there to be a little bit of blonde in there. So I'm probably gonna leave this on for like a good 5 minutes to 6 minutes, depending on how I see the color react to the color. The reason why I go straight from the shampoo bowl, it's gonna be a speedy tone. It's not gonna be a toning process where I leave the toner on for, you know, 10-20 minutes. It's only gonna be from like anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. You know, as I apply this, I'm being mindful that I am going to wash this hair out sooner than later. Okay, and once the product is fully applied, I'm gonna set a timer on for 6 minutes. Alright guys, so I'm just gonna go ahead and blow dry this entire look. Finish him up, probably clean up the sides a little bit shorter with like a 1 guard, 2 guard, line everything up, and then go ahead and show you guys the final result of this haircut. You want to dry this look using cold air, by the way. You don't want to irritate the scalp by, using cold water and then drying it with hot air. Just stick with the cold temperature that we've been rocking with throughout this entire process. All right, guys, for this final step for the styling, I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of curl cream into the hair, mix it in with a little bit of water, and then I'm gonna diffuse it to give it that wavy finish. And then I'm gonna finish it with some matte pomade. So some curl cream, dilute it with some water. Just get the curl cream into his hair. And we're gonna diffuse this on low speed, low heat. We're gonna finish this haircut off with texture paste from Mason's Pomade. Get a generous amount on there. And you kind of want to get it into the roots first, and then just finish it with getting it on the end. And then using my hairspray, we're just gonna go ahead and finish off this look. You guys can kind of see the detailing process for the final style here. But that's gonna wrap up my final demo for Nate today. Platinum crop with the burst fade. I'm gonna leave all the details on everything I used, when I used it, why I used it. So make sure to check out the description box for this tutorial as well. But other than that, let's get into the final styling and show you guys what this final product looks like. Okay, I'm using the hairspray to really bring out that volume and maximize the look of the final look here. I think the hairspray is what's also going to allow me to lock this look fully in when trying to take photos and finishing up with content. So I always like to finish any haircut off with a little bit of hairspray. All right, so real quick, I just want to let you guys know, I didn't do any harsh lineups on his hair either. That's because when this grows out, I don't want it to grow out with the lineup looking with his natural hair color and then the dye just coming in right after that, right? I want this to grow in very nicely too. So I didn't fade it down to skin and I didn't do any types of lineups to it except for cleaning up the neck hairs in the back. Other than that, that's all I did for the cleanup, and I'll see you guys on next week's tutorial.